I was invited to play Final Fantasy XVI courtesy of Square Enix. I can't even believe I'm beginning to even say that right now. My name's Neon Genesis, guys, and welcome to... Well, finally I can do a video on my thoughts and feelings towards Final Fantasy XVI. As an avid Final Fantasy fan, since my very first Final Fantasy game, which was Final Fantasy VII the original back in those 1997 days, I was definitely excited and incredibly honoured to be able to take part in such an opportunity to attend a hands-on experience, to go down to London and play Final Fantasy XVI, let alone 8 weeks before release. And then the icing on the cake was to meet some of the voice actors for the game itself, and of course to meet the staff and some amazing content creators who I've been a fan of for many years. Disclaimers though, of course, content shown on the screen are from a special version made for media to experience, and contents may differ from the final version. And of course, we will not be spoiling any main story. I won't be telling you about any conversations that take place. I won't be telling you, certain things about NPCs and the outcomes of things like that. So rest assured, there will be minimal spoilers, depending on what you class as spoilers. If you don't want to see gameplay, then this video will be obviously showing some gameplay. But again, this is stock footage provided by Square Enix. So thank you so much, Square Enix, for providing me the footage and allowing me the space to talk about such a great game. To be quite honest with you, I've never really made a video like this before, so please forgive me if I'm a little bit all over the place and I'm not really sure where to begin. So for now, I'll talk about the combat. Well, as for someone not well versed in the Devil May Cry combat, or let alone Devil May Cry games, I have only played Devil May Cry 1, I was quite super nervous that I may not be able to be very good at Final Fantasy XVI, or to add to my nerves, I was also kind of scared that because of the combat and the direction of the game, maybe it wouldn't feel like Final Fantasy to me. So I was very interested to get stuck into the combat and see how it feels. To give you a small bit of background, I have played Final Fantasy VII through right up to Final Fantasy, well, now 16, so I have got some good experience in what Final Fantasy feels like, certainly to me. But I was definitely more curious about if Final Fantasy 16 kind of lived up to my expectations of what I feel would be Final Fantasy material, At the event, we were given headsets and our own TVs to just play Final Fantasy 16 on. I'll be honest and say that I put on this headset and, on the start screen, I was just tearing up a little bit because very overwhelming and exciting experience for me. And I was just about to play a very anticipated game, here. I didn't want to use the accessories for any assistance, as I wanted to feel what the game really felt like, especially without any assistance, and also to see if I could actually, play the game. I was more nervous that I was even going to be good at the game. I know that you can add assistance accessories to skill it to your own difficulty, but I wanted to play the game in its full, genuine glory and not feel like I was assisted in some way. So I went with raw experience with no accessories. And obviously in the footage you'll see Clive in his youth and Clive in his 20s, which is what we got to play. So there's a lot of different aspects we get to go through there.
That thing's breath is worse than its bite.
Once I got settled into the game, I started to really enjoy the feel of the combat, having a dodge button and then a gap closer, which kind of felt like FF14 to me. But to just straight back into the battle really fluidly, it just felt really good. And I can't wait to use more abilities to see what kind of other combos I can come up with. And of course, I'll be watching some streams to see what other guys and how they play it and what kind of combos they can come up with. Now you may be wondering, was I any good at the combat? Honestly, I'm not really sure. I was doing okay. Although I did have to use some potions occasionally, but even that, it still felt very fluid to just use a potion. It felt very seamless, and I was pleasantly surprised just how nice the combat felt, even with maybe not being very good at it, right? In particular, the one thing I will talk about is the stagger mechanic. The stagger mechanic was super satisfying, and I remember going back to this, was a few weeks ago when I played it now, but thinking when you break that stagger, that sound you get, oh, it was so addicting. And then you could really kind of go full ham when you'd stagger an opponent. I think it's going to be interesting seeing how other players approach certain fights and what kind of strategies they'll incorporate and how they're going to handle certain packs of enemies. And I think there's going to be a lot of thinking involved about how you're going to approach certain packs of enemies and even some of the boss fights. So speaking of the boss fights, I'm not going to tell you which bosses I fought, how many I fought, and where I fought them, and what mechanics there are. You know, this is your experience. But I will say for some of the boss fights I did do, without saying anything specific, they were all very cool, and they're all different in size, some being huge, some being small, you know, compared to Clive, and then learning how to dodge and then really use my surroundings for movement while incorporating my combats and stuff. It was so much fun. The voice acting for me was genuinely something very, very impressive.
You alright? Never better. Sounds like it. That there is a fine hound. Soon took to hunting.
Now, over the many years, I've become much more of a Final Fantasy voice actor fan, you know, getting into like Final Fantasy VII remake voice actors and learning who they are and even watching podcasts and stuff about them. And then now I'm very much into Final Fantasy XIV and kind of really admiring the voice actors there a little bit. Now, in particular for me, Ben Starr for Clive was amazing, seriously, and you could really tell he's put a lot of love and effort and passion into this character, and I think he kind of really felt like he was Clive, right? I think he's done an excellent job, and I genuinely can't wait for people to see his performance. So speaking of Ben, he's been incredibly kind. He's even thanked me in person for meeting him at the event, shook my hand, was thanking me for turning up to the event. Yet I'm the one thanking him for even coming to the event and spending time to hang out with us and chatting with us all and having a drink with us even. The following week, he even dropped by my live stream and thanked me again, which I thought was really sweet to be dropping into, you know, people's streams that who, you know, maybe he met in person and things and just sort of thanked us again. I thought that really went a long way, you know? So I was very honoured for that, Ben. So thank you so much for that. We were also allowed to explore one of the field areas. This was just an area for us to roam around, explore, look for enemies, and for the purpose of the media event, as I said, there wasn't a great deal we could do, but at least it got us a sense of an idea of what some of the field areas were like. However, you can see that this field area will be most likely used for quests and hunts and farming enemy drops, which again are needed for upgrades for your armour and weapons and stuff like that, so I think it's going to give us a really good idea to what we can expect. Slight unrelated note, but speaking of like the open world areas in 16, I kind of hope we get something similar in Rebirth in terms of seeing these huge open areas, especially with how gorgeous FF16 looks. Later on in my playthrough, I did get to explore Cid's hideaway, which I thought was really cool, which is very much like this game's hub if you're quite new to Final Fantasy 16, where you'll be able to do some quests and there's shops and you can get some lore there, and there's a lot of things you can do there, so much more. Speaking of Cid, another side note, doing a lot of segues here, his very deep and gravelly voice, oh man, I'm a very big fan, I love it.
Are you Blackthorn?
What if I am? I've no time for idle chatter.
The gameplay and graphics. So personally, graphically, I thought this game really hit the nail on the head, I really do. It also comes to no surprise to say that the music is absolutely incredible. I think Soken's done an amazing job, and if you don't know who Soken is, you will know who that man is after Final Fantasy 16 for sure. Once I was done with the session, all of my kind of worries had gone. I was just so excited to play Final Fantasy 16 again and just find out more and more about the game and honestly the story. Over this session, I really started to feel that this game did feel very Final Fantasy to me. It's kind of weird because, you know, Final Fantasy games to me are going to be things like Final Fantasy 7 and 8, you know, this kind of graphic style period, and those games were like narrated, right? So you had to read these games, and, you know, Final Fantasy 16 just feels so right, and I think it's going to compare to Final Fantasy 15, which I don't even know if you can even compare it. It's just it doesn't even compare. To speak about certain dialogues and cutscenes, comparing again to 15 and 16, 16 goes up and beyond, and it's a lot more in depth, and you know, you're not having these like 3-minute conversations and then a cutscene is done, which I kind of felt that was the case in 15. 16 is a lot more in depth, so definitely be ready for this ride, even though I don't think you're ready for what is about to come. I also just want to premise that I think Square Enix have said this themselves, and I think even Ben and even Yoshi P has said this, but I don't think we've even seen anything yet. So even what we've played at the hands-on experience, and what people played before back in February, and what they've released as you know, trailers and gameplay footage, we have not seen anything yet, and I truly believe that. I feel like we've just basically played the tutorial. And I will say one thing, I was playing the game at the media event for 3 hours, and then the title Final Fantasy 16 dropped. It was like crazy. I think it was 3 hours anyway, but I was playing for a good length of time, and then the title Final Fantasy 16 appears, and I was like, wait, what? So all that was just a tutorial? Wait, what? You know, so I was just blown away with how big this game's gonna be, and how big is it? I don't know, but this is our first Final Fantasy game on PlayStation 5.
Goblins. So my first mission was in vain.
I don't want to dive too much into the icon battles too much, because I think like if I say too much, I don't want to spoil it for anyone. I can speak a little bit about it, but I'm honestly purposely going to hold back here and let you just experience it yourself. But what I will say is they feel very cool. Obviously the music going alongside these fights are so intense but so beautiful as well. I honestly genuinely think it's going to be an experience that people are not going to get on any other game anytime soon for a long time. And lastly, this might sound a bit silly here, I know I only played for a few hours, but I just want to say I honestly think this could be definitely up for a game of this year, because I think that the amount of love and effort that's gone into it, the amount of details have gone into it, I think there's just, I honestly think it could be up there. I know we're only midway through the year, and I'm sure there's going to be some other amazing games coming out. I think it's definitely going to be a good competitor. I'm not saying it will get Game of the Year, but I think I would be surprised if it's not at least in the competition of getting it, because I can definitely see the amount of work and effort that's gone into this game. And that's going to be a wrap for my video. Thank you so much for watching this video, spending the time to listen to me rant on and nerd out about voice acting, but obviously most importantly Final Fantasy 16. I hope you've enjoyed the footage on the screen. Big thank you again to Square Enix for even giving me this opportunity to go and play the game early and share with my community, you know, this amazing experience and this amazing game, and let alone giving me the stock footage as well to actually be able to show some of the game as well. So what you did see on screen wasn't me playing, I'm not that good. But a big thank you as well for people who, you know, if I didn't word myself well enough, or, you know, I'm kind of new to these review videos, and my channel's usually mostly VODs, but I'd like to maybe try and get into doing more videos like this, and, you know, you've got to start somewhere, right? So anyway, thank you so much everyone for watching. Please leave a like on the video. Not often I ask for a lot of that on my channel, but as this is a video that, you know, I want to kind of get my thoughts out there, and honestly I kind of want to see people excited for the game. But yeah, please leave a like if you can. Obviously subscribe if you fancy joining us on this journey, and I hope to see you on Twitch. And until then guys, as always, happy gaming.